Take a few moments tonight to focus on the state of Tennessee, a growing hotspot in the U.S. for COVID-19. Cases are rising right now to levels not seen since April. Just 38.9% of the population is fully vaccinated, one of the lowest rates in the nation. And tonight, controversy at the state health department there. Dr. Michelle Fiscus, the top vaccine official, formally says she was fired for her efforts to vaccinate people from Tennessee, specifically teenagers. And she's joining us live tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Marnie.
Let's begin with why you were told you were terminated from your position with the health department.
Well, I wasn't told why I was terminated from my position. The Department of Health actually released a letter of justification to the media through a FOIA request several days after I was terminated, which had some easily refutable allegations in it. But what I believe was the cause is that I had sent a memo out to our COVID-19 providers telling them about a 34-year-old Tennessee Supreme Court case law that states that in Tennessee, children ages 14 and older have the right to make their own medical decisions without the consent of their parents if their healthcare provider feels that they're mature enough to make that decision. And that memo was met with a lot of pushback from our legislators, some of whom actually asked that the Department of Health be dissolved because they felt that we were undermining the authority of parents.
Certainly, adults have the option to take the vaccine or not, but you're talking about the mature minor doctrine. As you said, 1987 Tennessee Supreme Court case permits healthcare providers to treat certain minors without parental consent. I'm wondering if bypassing parents, though, in a situation like this is the answer.
Well, I don't think it's bypassing parents. This is actually a doctrine that's been used very, very seldomly. Sometimes teens are in state custody, or maybe they have a parent that's incarcerated where they're not able to provide consent. It's actually used very, very rarely in the state, but it's not so much an argument over whether or not they should have the right. The fact is they do have the right in Tennessee, and that case law is 34 years old. So it wasn't my interpretation of that law. That is case law that exists, and teens in Tennessee do have that right.
Give us an idea, Dr. Fiscus, of what is happening behind the scenes at the health department in Tennessee that concerns you.
Well, as a result of the legislators that were calling for the dissolution of the State Department of Health as a result of sharing this case law, the Department of Health leadership pulled back not only on adolescent COVID-19 vaccination efforts, but on all vaccination efforts for children. So they were canceling school-based vaccination clinics in back to school. They were canceling flu vaccination clinics that were going to be scheduled for the fall, even went so far as to say that we couldn't even recognize that August is National Immunization Awareness Month. And so it's really that overcorrection in response to really saber rattling on the part of some legislators that resulted in several weeks of back to school opportunities to get children vaccinated that were missed because of the reaction of the Department of Health to what the legislature was doing.
They have reinstated those inoculation programs as we lead into school. We should mention that. Dr. Fiscus, what is your message tonight when it comes to the vaccine for all? And also, would you advocate a mask mandate?
Well, first of all, just as everyone else has said, the time is to get vaccinated. This Delta variant is no joke. And so please take the opportunity to do that. Secondly, politics has no business getting in between the work of public health and the people that they serve and try to protect. And so it is not the role of politicians to be looking at their next reelection when we're trying to fight a pandemic and get people vaccinated and protected. As far as a mask mandate, I think in schools there need to be mask mandates. In Tennessee, we only have about 1 in 7 children ages 12 to 15 who have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19. The children, obviously ages 11 and under, are unable to get a COVID-19 vaccine at this point. And the only way that we're going to be able to protect those kids is to have them in school in person, which is what we all want and what we know is valued, but to have them masked and socially distanced to the extent that they're able to, so that they don't end up getting infected.
Finally, doctor, before I let you go, how has this dust-up impacted you professionally, coming in confrontation with some of your state's highest political leaders?
Well, obviously, it resulted in the loss of my job, which is not great. I will say I have had tremendous support from within the Department of Health, from my colleagues who are there, from my colleagues who are across the state. And I want to be sure to emphasize that this is not local public health that is on the wrong side of this. This is the leadership and elected officials in the state that is allowing politics to get in the way of the work that those local public health workers are trying to do to protect Tennesseans. And those folks are the heroes. They are out there every day trying to protect Tennesseans, trying to get them vaccinated, trying to get them tested. They're the heroes, and they need to be able to do the work that they're commissioned to do.
And continuing to educate people about the effectiveness of the vaccine. Dr. Michelle Fiscus, we appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And I should mention the Tennessee Department of Health has information about its vaccine outreach program on its website after halting those efforts amid the criticism we've been discussing. We also reached out for comment about Dr. Fiscus's departure. The Department of Health said they will not be commenting further on personal matters.